Well, good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz. We are live from Hillsboro High School in Hillsboro, Missouri, home to the Hillsboro Hawks. The Festus Tigers are in town. Welcome to live stream STL's Friday Night Blitz. We are live from the Gordon Stoplight press box here. Matt Bates, Ray Halbrook. Gonna be a blast tonight. Big games tonight, big implications. And Matt, we are here for a little soggy game tonight.
It's a little damp. It's damp everywhere around the area tonight, but we're getting used to it now. Not that we want to be used to it, but that's the way it's going to shape up.
Yes, it is.
Tonight, another Class 4 District 1 matchup now between the two heated rivals, the local rivals, 4-0 Festus Tigers coming in to play the 2-2 Hillsboro Hawks.
Well, you know, they're extremely talented at the skills positions, so we're going to have to tackle in space. You see that on film. They've got weapons all over the field. You play them every year. I'd say top to bottom, they're as dangerous offensively as they have been at any point that we've played them the last 4 or 5 years under Coach O. So we got to definitely tackle in space. Keep the quarterback in front of us and make sure we rally and tackle.
Friendly confines of Hillsboro High School. There's Shermer. He goes in, give him 6. Mason Shermer with a 3-yard TD run. Puts Festus on top early. Joining Brown. 1 to the left, 1 to the right. Going to give it to the up back. That's Duncan. He's going to shoot straight through to the 5. Give him 6. Made short work of 40 yards. Just like a rocket, Duncan broke straight through. 3 wide receiver package. Clifton, they give the ball to Shermer. He makes short work of that. Give him 6, another touchdown. For Festus, that'll be Shermer with a 1-yard TD run. You know, running into the middle of the field is not what you want to do to keep the clock moving. So here's Brown. He's going to roll out. Being flushed out of the pocket. Gardner on him. Shermer misses him. Brown stays in bounds. And time's going to run off. Did somebody call a timeout? We'll find out. But it looks like the clock strikes 0. And that will do it. The clock runs out. And that is a win for the Festus Tigers by the final score of 14-7.
Well, good Tuesday to everybody. Not Monday, Tuesday. We had to move our day today for UFR here, and welcome to Upon Further Review. Ray Halbrook here from Livestream STL Media. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. This is a show where we recap last week's fun-filled adventures of Friday Night Blitz and other games, along with crowning a Player of the Week, some honorable mentions, and we will preview next week's games as well. So without further ado, we bring in our esteemed panel here. Mr. Matt Bates in the middle there, and Mr. Jeff Whitener there to everybody's right. Matthew, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Glad to be part of the team and glad to be part of the show and ready to kick things off on this Tuesday.
Absolutely. Jeffrey, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. I'm happy to be just a spoke in the wheel here that is the live stream machine.
A spoke in the wheel. I like it. Well, we are going to not hesitate any longer. We have the Week 5 results, and boy, oh boy, did we have some good games this week here. Festus 14, Hillsboro 7. Yes, however many long, it's 14. The 14-year streak got snapped. Seckman 30, Oakville nothing. Kirkwood drops to Eureka 14-10. Windsor drops to DeSoto 52-30. We'll talk a little bit about that game, I'm sure. Cuba beats Herculaneum 30-6. Perryville 32, Grandview nothing. Jefferson 35, Bayless 26. St. Vincent 35, Hayti nothing. St. Pius X 23, St. James 6. Rockwood Summit 38, Fox 14, and to round things out, a close one between Parkway South and Northwest, but Parkway South comes out on top 28-27. And we're going to start with our game of the week here, the Festus Hillsboro game. Matthew and I were on the call over there for that particular game. And was it what we expected? I think so, a little bit. Matt, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, coming into the game, yes, Festus undefeated at 4-0, but two of those wins, they beat DeSoto and Windsor collectively 105-20. So this was, and then that week one was that shorted win against Rolla. So I looked at this as like this was going to be Festus's like toughest match to date. And as they say, at week 5 at the midway point, where are they at collectively as a team? And, watching them in the prior games just zipping up and down the field like it was a track meet. I wanted to see how the dual quarterback system worked against Hillsboro, but I also wanted to see how Hillsboro was going to respond because these guys have been tested all year, but dealing with a makeshift offensive line coming into the week and then losing a couple more in the process. This was just kind of like, like a bend but don't break kind of situation. But I think the big glaring thing was just seeing the ineffectiveness of the Hillsboro passing game, and that allowed Festus and Coach Afadale to just tighten up the nuts and just start bringing the house and imposing their will on that Hillsboro line and against Preston Brown. So I think overall it was just some tough sledding for Hillsboro, and you saw the big boy football up and down right there. I mean, there were pads popping, and again that Festus defense as well too. And I think to their credit, they've had a fresh 5 all year, so not to have to shuffle around and have to deal with injuries. I mean that's always something that a coach will tell you. If I can check that box, that's a good problem to have where I can take care of other business. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you guys saw as well too.
Start with Jeff.
Well, Matt, a few things, and you and I being line guys, we understand the importance of when you have someone go down on the O-line. It's so tough because on the offensive line, it's almost as if cohesiveness and teamwork is more important than individual skill. Working together as a unit is so important. And when you have some big guys go down for you, and granted, it was an inexperienced line coming into the season for Hillsboro, but when you've got 2-3 injuries that you're starting to have to plug guys in, that makes it difficult and very challenging. Whereas on the opposite side, I thought the Festus offensive line played very well, even though only putting up 14 points. That first touchdown they scored, they were able to march right down the field, and they had the better of the play against the Hillsboro defensive line. The other thing I noticed in the game, and you touched on it, Hillsboro had a challenging time with their passing game. Had to do, obviously, with the skill and speed of the Festus secondary, but I don't think it could be overstated. The loss of Chase Zukarski to graduation last year, not only was he an excellent defender in the secondary for the Hawks, but also an excellent receiver as well. So maybe one less weapon for Preston Brown to go to in this game. And those little things made the difference. And Festus finally gets over the hump.
Yeah, Jeff, I agree with you on that. And you guys did mention a little bit about Preston Brown. Keeping Preston Brown at bay was key, I think, a big key in Festus's defense. And I mean, I'll give the shout out to the defense. The Festus defense was amazing. Did a great job of keeping the pass plays to a minimum. Was able to again keep Preston Brown at bay and no points for him hardly at all. So it was just just a well-rounded scheme there for Coach Ofadale. I think if I was Ofadale, I would have probably did the same thing. Hey, we've got to make this a team effort, and we've got to be able to, take care of the business on defense first, and that's what they did. So, good game there for the Festus Tigers.
The rain has stopped for the moment as we welcome you into Seckman High School, where the undefeated Jaguars are taking on the Oakville Tigers. Tigers come into this one with 2 wins and 2 losses. The Seckman Jaguars, obviously, like I mentioned, 4-0.
Yeah, Oakville's kind of turned into our little St. Louis County rival. I would say Northwest and Fox are our Jeffco rivals, and Oakville's definitely that St. Louis County team that likes to come down here. We know it's a big game for them. Played them twice last year, got the better of them, but we know when they come to our homecoming Friday night, they're going to be prepared. They're well coached. They execute well on offense and defense, and really it's going to come down to who controls the line of scrimmage, and hopefully that's the Jaguars.
So I take that back. Direct snap again to Ambrose to the far side. Is met at the line by some contact, but he makes it into the end zone. Make it 8-0 for the Jaguars on their opening drive. That's Lewis, actually, and Gosser to the far side. Handoff directly to Ambrose. He has some speed. He gets through one tackle, and he drags himself into the end zone for a touchdown. Here's a snap. It's high and over the head of Kilburn, and it's going to go all the way back out of the end zone. I believe that is a safety. It is indeed. 2 more points for the Tigers on the terrible snap way over the head of Adam Kilburn. Takes the snap, hands it off to Ambrose, fakes another handoff. He comes to the near side, breaks around one tackle, and he gets past another. There he goes to the 10, to the 5. Ambrose, touchdown Jaguars. His 3rd of the evening, bringing the score to 22-0. Fowler now in shotgun. Lewis in motion. He's going to get the handoff. Finds a hole. He cuts to the outside. He's got some blockers. Breaks a tackle into the end zone. Touchdown, Ben Lewis. Touchdown, Jaguars. Extending the lead once more is now 29-0 in favor of Seckman. And it looks like that's going to be the end of this game. Still 30 seconds to go here in this ball game, but with the play clock not going to reach 0 before the game clock, this one is going to finish Seckman 30, Oakville 0.
Let's move on to our next game here, and that is the Seckman Oakville game. I wish I would have been able to talk a little bit to Drake Beekman a little bit about it, but Seckman just continues to roll, and what can you say? I mean, it's kind of a carbon copy from from years past here, Jeff.
Yeah, Seckman moving up now. Looking at their schedule, guys, I think they have a good chance of running the table and not losing a game. They're ranked 3rd in the state now in Class 6, and once the running game gets going, it is just a machine for Seckman, and it just starts overwhelming everything in their path. But also the Jags defense limiting Oakville to only 86 total yards. That really stuck out for me, guys.
Yeah. Wow. Matt.
So it sounds like Jeff was reading my notes again. So yeah, I had the same thing. The 86 yards of total. Yeah, not just rushing, not just passing, but 86 yards total. That first of all, I didn't see a shutout coming with the way that Max Bradley and Williams, and those guys were taking care of business over there. I thought maybe they would have put some points up on the board. I did not see a week where Herculaneum was going to put more points up than what Oakville would in a ball game, and it surely happened. And Brady Ambrose just again doing his thing. 24 carries, 139 yards, 2 TDs, and as a collective group, they had 283 rushing. So again, as we say, Seckman do what Seckman do. They're going to kill you with the running game, and when they do, it's when you're averaging 7.5, 8 yards a shot, I mean, that really makes your 2nd and 3rd downs a lot more manageable and keeping the sticks and the chains and the clock moving.
Jeffrey.
Guys, I did find out 2 interesting tidbits this week about Seckman. Brady Ambrose, and we've talked about it, and we've heard Scott Lotta talk about his lime green shoes on the field and why he wears those. And evidently those are in honor of his mom, that she can find him very easily on the field when he's playing. So that's a shout out to his mom.
How about
I
that?
thought that was pretty cool. And the other factoid here with Seckman and their ranking in the state now, number 3, guys, that puts them ahead of CBC and DeSmet.
Wow.
And that just jumped out at me. I mean, when's the last time a Jefferson County team was ranked higher than those two powerhouses? I can't remember in recent memory.
Yeah, it's been a little while. No doubt about that.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz here at Kirkwood High School in Kirkwood, Missouri, where the Kirkwood Pioneers will host the Eureka Wildcats.
Talking about these two teams, it's going to be a good matchup. You have, Eureka, who is ranked in the area and the state, and Kirkwood comes in 3-1 on the year. Their only loss was by 2 points to Lafayette 2 weeks ago, and like they said, their offense is really clicking along.
Again, we've historically had some great matchups with Kirkwood. We had a couple 2-year stretch there. One time they beat us in overtime. One time we did a field goal kickoff. Then last year, kind of a tight game all the way through 4 quarters. So no matter what, we know when we go over there, it's going to be a 4 quarters contest. And as far as what it's going to take for us to get done, is it's got to be Eureka doing the best that Eureka can. And, the style of play that we've done the last 4 weeks, we've got to be great at that. Again, controlling the ball, limiting our turnovers, and playing rock solid defense. And, it's a good team over there. They're well coached, and it'll be a great test. It'll be fun for our boys. And these are the ones you get excited about as you hit the end of the season and towards the end of the stretch.
He missed a 43-yarder back halfway through the second quarter. Let's see if he can connect and get the first points on the board. It's up. Is it good? It sure is. And Joey Evans puts the first points up for Kirkwood and for this game at 9:13 left to go in the third quarter. Play action. Hobelman over the middle, catching it and getting in for the touchdown. A 9-yard reception. And it was Ringy again. He sent up the Wildcats deep into Kirkwood territory with that huge reception. And number 45 punches it in for 6 points. They waste no time to get set up at the 21. Handoff here. Cutting right, finding some room, and getting in for the touchdown, a 21-yard one by Tyson Sanders. The first touchdown for the Pioneers. It's 9-7. Ralph Giannino checks in. Same setup. Reed to the right. Kodak behind Hobelman. Hobelman rolls, looking for Reed. Now he tosses in a touchdown. Kodak in from 9. And Eureka takes the lead with 1:05 left to go, 13-10. From the 30, Neslage, he wants to go left, looks left, has pressure, and he's taken down by Kodak. And that will do it. The sack by Trevor Kodak. He scored the go-ahead touchdown, and he seals this with a sack of Owen Neslage, and the Eureka Wildcats are winners 14-10.
Exactly. All right, moving on to our next game here, and that is the Eureka Kirkwood game there. Eureka ekes out a win against Kirkwood. Seemed like a very, very well fought game, and came down to the wire in the last minute where Eureka was able to go ahead 14-10 here. Information that you guys have here, and I'll just let you go here. We'll start with Matt.
Well, I don't think there was so much eking out a win as this was just a slugfest of who can last the longest and who can score last. I mean, this thing was 0-0 at halftime. Both teams had missed field goals. In particular, of note, Craig Ringy has only caught five passes all year, but of those 5 catches, 3 TDs. And in that third quarter, Kirkwood got out to the lead with a 30-yard field goal. And then you look at the momentum that needed to be swung, and the pendulum swung to a 69-yard pass to Ringy, who he just – and we see it so often, guys. week in, week out, we talk about it. Make the simple play. You know, you see quarterbacks throwing passes that receivers, it hits them right in the hands, or it goes, hits the chest, falls to the turf. Ringy's wide open in the middle of the field. He catches the ball, then he turns, runs, and next thing you know, he's down at around the 9-10 yard line. Kodak gets a rush, then they go back to him in the end zone. So 2 catches, one produces a touchdown, and that was the spark that got the Eureka Wildcats going. Yeah, Trevor Kodak did what Trevor Kodak does week in and week out, but there was a spark that needed to be lit in that game, and Ringy breaking out into midfield, collecting that, and making sure, first of all, that he secured the ball and then looking to turn upfield and go. You're talking about a kid who's also their extra point kicker. He's their kickoff, punt return, kickoff returner. So, I mean, he's not just a one-trick pony. This was a guy who, ironically, when he wears the number 45, I've been watching him all year. Reminds me of Jeff Robinson, who played for the St. Louis Rams. He was not only their long snapper, he was a tight end and was also on the defensive side of the ball. And so you see the versatility of a guy like that, and I like the way that Coach Sumner has implemented him into that Wildcat system.
Jeffrey.
Well, Matt, nice Jeff Robinson reference there. That'll take people back a couple of years. That's awesome. And I agree with you. He was, when you look for little things and you look for individual players to step up, you know what you're going to get in Kodak. You know what you're going to get in Hobelman and Nestledge on the other side for Kirkwood and his wide receivers. But the difference in these games a lot of times is someone else stepping up and elevating their play just a little bit to make the difference. And Ringy did that in my eyes in this game for Eureka. As you mentioned, a slugfest, a very physical game. We knew that was going to be going in. But to me, one of the biggest keys in this game was the Wildcats defense being able to keep Owen Nestledge uncomfortable back in the pocket. He was uncomfortable. He was hurried. He was rushed. And towards the end of the game, when they're trying to come back, I felt like he was trying to do a little too much, holding on to the ball a little long. And we saw that on the final play of the game when Trevor Kodak sacked Nestledge to end that game and put the cherry on top for a Eureka win. So making him uncomfortable was a big key, I thought.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that was coming in. I mean, he was averaging almost 350 yards a game of passing, and even in the other highlight packages I was able to locate, one being a left-handed quarterback, Sumner looked like he implemented a defensive position where they were rotating guys to get into his passing lanes and be a distraction, and to me, I think that was the most duress he had been in the whole season, and that Eureka defense. And I mean, and we'll probably get to it sooner or later, but we talk about offensive line, defensive line play. You saw that. I mean, Festus Hillsborough, yes, that was big boy football. This was bigger boy football in this ball game. And again, but when you have the health, and I agree with you too, Jeff, about the cohesiveness, that, when you're not rotating players around, and I got, being a former center, and I like this position we're at here, where if I've got Ray at one guard and I got Jeff at another guard, and we're like in week 5 and we haven't had to rotate out or do anything like that, that makes our job up front a lot easier, because I know where Ray's going to be if we're running to that side. I know where Jeff's going to be, how we can handle that, or if Jeff needs help, all he's got to do is give me a look, a whistle, a tap, something, and we know what's going on. Where, now if I've got, 3 other people to deal with that I don't have any background with, makes it real tough. And you saw that in that Eureka game, that just the cohesiveness, and that Jack Line kid, I'm telling you right now, is at 6'7", and he's like a svelte, 285. I mean, there ain't an ounce of body fat on this guy. And you just watch him when he comes off the line. It's just 2 hands going that way, 2 hands going that way, and just clears the lane. And when you see Kodak just imposing his will, well, yeah, I mean, I could probably do that too with the lanes that are being open.
Exactly. Great win there for Eureka. Well, good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz on a Thursday. We're live from Jefferson High School in Festus, Missouri, home to the Jefferson Blue Jays. They're taking on the Bayless Broncos, and we are going to get things started right now.
So we got to make sure we play a very sound game defensively. We got to make sure we're flying to the ball, we're gang tackling, we're running our feet on contact, and we're not just assuming they're going to go down just because we're there. You know, we got to make sure we're continuing to finish the play.
Because it brings all plays into the picture. Frisch drops back. He's going to throw, forced to roll out to the right. Looking in the end zone, has a player open. That is Weiss, and he is going to go to the ground, sliding catch. That is a touchdown for the Blue Jays. So we are setting up for about a 20-yard touchdown pass. Jones to the left of Bolden. He's going to get the handoff, comes right at us here, breaks a tackle, has some space, across the 50, one man to beat. He's going to beat him 20, 10, 5, touchdown. And just like that, the Broncos have answered their next offensive possession. Jones says, I see what you can do, Frisk. I'm going to do one a little bit better, and I'm going to take it about 60 yards.
Points off the board.
Looks like it's 2nd and 5. From the 5-yard line. Really, I should say 2nd and goal. There's no opportunity for a thing. This time, Weiss is going to get the ball on that sweep, and he's going to go into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown, this time of the rushing variety.
You know, for both teams, you got to think, well, there's potential here to make adjustments and do some better things in the second half here, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You talk about it on both sides. I mean, obviously, you can see the game plan. Drake has been really, first option is to run the ball. I think passing is really, we just want to keep the defenses honest a little bit, maybe stretch the field. If we hit one, awesome,
right.
But really we're going to hang our hats on the run game. And so Bolden, he's going to keep this one. He has space. He breaks through. He's at the 40, one man to beat at the 50, 30, stiff arms, 20, 10, 5, touchdown. What an answer and a run by Andrew Bolden as he takes it 88 yards on the play. 4 wide receivers set. Frisk looking to throw the ball. Drops back. He's going to take a shot down the field. Ussery's going to catch this one. Did he keep his feet in? We're looking at the officials. They say a touchdown. What a throw and a strike from Frisk to Ussery for 6 points, and back in the lead are the Blue Jays.
You know, Chevy Chase and all those fun.
Frisk going to take the snap here, fakes the handoff. He keeps it himself, breaks up the middle. He is going to be at the 30, 20. No one's going to catch him. 10-5, touchdown. Cooper Frisk, and the Blue Jays extend their lead. That is a big, big burst right there. Ussery 21-14, and then Frisk on the big 57-yard run. As Jones breaks free, he's got a man to beat. He beats him. There's one guy trying to run him down, but he's not going to get him as Jones goes to the house on the first play
touchdown, number 2, Marvin
of the 4th quarter.
Even though they got 3 timeouts, they're going to have to waste them here and stop the Blue Jays.
They're going to hand off to Weiss. He's going to get it up the middle, and there it is. He breaks free, and there is no one that is going to catch this young man as he's off to the races. Touchdown for Landon Weiss. A big, big 59-yard touchdown run that may be the dagger for the Blue Jays to keep their hopes alive. They're going to do a direct snap to Jones. He's going to find a little bit of space, and he gets into the end zone for a touchdown with 18 seconds to go. They do edge closer, a 7-yard touchdown run, and this 2-point conversion. You see some fireworks going off in the background with the victory celebration for the Blue Jays commencing as they go through the handshake line. But an excellent game, and I don't think you should hang your head if you're Bayless. You put up a tremendous fight, and again, just a tough loss here as the Blue Jays were just able to edge you out, especially on the offensive side.
We're going to jump down to, and I apologize for not throwing the live stream STL logo on this game, but it was added later earlier last week, I guess it was. The Bayless Jefferson game. We'll jump down to that real quick, and we're able to cover that one. Was able to kind of flex our schedule. 35-26. Boy, it was a shootout there for a little bit to an extent here. And I'll start with Jeff here because Jeff and I were both at the game here. But I wanted to catch Jeff's. I wanted to seriously get like some video
out, and some of those fears were coming to fruition thanks to Marvin Jones. Probably the fastest back I've seen in this entire area this year, and one of the metro leaders in rushing yards and overall yards in our area. And when he got loose and gained an edge, there's nobody on the field that was going to catch him. You saw that, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
But big time players make big time plays. We saw what Cooper Frisk brought to the table. Obviously, another huge week for him. Landon Weiss, he is the type of back like a Thurman Thomas, a Marshall Falk. He's going to have almost as many receiving yards as he has rushing yards in a game, and plus big plays on defense for the young man. The touchdowns add up again. Those two. They were the drivers of the offense. A great catch by Aiden Ussery. He's made one great catch every week for a touchdown, seems like. But for me, the guys in the secondary really made the difference in this game for R7. You say, well, they gave up 20-something points, 26 points. But there were times, Noah Beeler, we saw that, the young man, where he was able to shoestring Jones a few times and save touchdown tackles. We saw really good secondary play, I thought, from Logan Van Dieven, Gavin Green. Some of the younger, inexperienced players stepped up, and to me, that was a big difference in that game.
Matthew.
Yeah, again, last week, this was a game that was on my radar as like a bold prediction where Bayless came within 8 points of sneaking one out. And I dare say that I like to ask Jeff, I mean, because the way they snuck up on Crystal City and stole one from them, I'm guessing, as you had indicated, that they are as fast as advertised in person. That I thought they were more of like a Perryville, because I had not seen much of Bayless, to where I thought they were going to be like a bigger, just ground and pound. But these guys, it seems like whenever they get the ball, it's kind of like watching that Camden Yates at Festus, where like all of a sudden it just turns into a track meet. Is that pretty accurate? Because again, seeing most of their tackles coming from that secondary and their D-backs, when you're already breaking that first layer and your safeties are, like leading the team in tackles, should be rather alarming and letting you know you're going to be in for a long night. And then in that, what I call third dairy, when you get to that third layer.
Well, a couple of things to add to that, Matt, and to speak to those points. The quarterback Bolden and Jones, they're now juniors, and most of this offensive unit have been starting since they were freshmen. So they've got loads of experience now. The D-line for Jefferson played very well. The problem, too, though, was you've got one of your best linebackers in Tyler Crater exiting the game, and I believe, Ray, he went out late in the second quarter, early in the third quarter. I can't remember.
Yeah,
and he's one of the best tacklers on the team. When he went out, that formed a bit of a hole in the secondary and that's why you saw them breaking through that second layer a little easier, Matt, and getting into the corners and the safeties. So yeah, that's why that got a little dicey there for R7 for a while.
Yeah, there's two things that I saw out of this. Coach Atlee being patient throughout the entire game, being able to use, like what you said, Jeff, with the using some younger talent and some, maybe some sophomores, maybe even freshmen at the time, to kind of fill those gaps. He mentioned this at the beginning of the season here in our preview. There was a lot of gaps that he's got to fill, and he's been real patient with that, and patience pays off. So it's definitely working right now, and he's got to continue to stay that way for a little bit till he can really kind of see some things form and be solid for the Jefferson Blue Jays. So kudos to coach there. Let's move on to our other games here. You've got that Windsor DeSoto game we could talk about. You got Grandview Perryville we could talk about. Matt, let's turn it over to you, and you pick a game here and we'll talk about it.
Well, it has to be the Windsor DeSoto game. I mean, this was, I think two teams still trying to establish that identity, coming into week 5. Where are we at? This, I thought, was going to be a good test for Coach Freeman and the Owls to see how they could match up against DeSoto. And I thought the same way for Coach Schmidt coming in to take on Freeman's team, and this being on the road. This was a 16-12 Owls lead at halftime. And all of a sudden, the Dragons put a 40 spot up on Freeman's Owls and take a win on the road 56-30. This was, again, one of these games where if you would have told me DeSoto won like 32-30, I'd have been okay. But again, when I saw this score at halftime, I'm like, they're hanging in there. They just couldn't convert on the extra points or the 2-point conversions. So, they're holding their own. But then when I see the final score on our post-game show, I really thought it was like a typo. Then when you look at the stats for the game and you see that, they have a team total rush of 428. I mean, not to go unnoticed, Windsor had 396. So, I mean, both teams just were just imposing their will on the other team's defense. But you look at the night Drummond had, 17 carries, 107. Levi Huck on defense for the Dragons had 17 total tackles. They had 4 players that had, averaged 10 plus total tackles. But the one thing that just stands out was just the night that Eli Tebow had with his 241 on the ground, 3 TDs, 12 total tackles, a fumble recovery, a forced fumble, a tackle for loss, and a partridge in a pear tree, Jeff.
Yeah, talking to Coach Schmidt Friday night, obviously very happy with the win, happy with the way his team came back, being down a couple points at halftime. And I look at this game and I think, okay, is this another game in building that culture and confidence level for the Dragons, where these guys are starting to believe in themselves? And next week they have a very interesting game on the road against Fredericktown. That's a game that they can win if they play well, even though they're having to go on the road. And Fredericktown's been kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team a little bit this season. That one has that's on my radar for next week. We'll talk about that a little bit. But Levi Huck, what a game! 17 total tackles, 14 solo. Holy cow!
Absolutely. Let's Jeff, we'll stick with you there. Pick me a game here that sticks out to you here from last week.
Well, I hate to bring it up, guys, but the Cuba Herculaneum game, Herky has to travel down to Cuba, and they lose 30-6. They got the touchdown against the second stringers at the end of the game there, the pride points on the board, but Cuba pretty well shut them out the whole game. And I feel, even though I saw our respect they deserve in this conference. And I think that when I look at their line play, when I look at their receivers and their quarterback, I think they're going to be a problem for some teams moving forward. Herky on the other side, they just couldn't move the ball at all, hardly. I mean, they moved the ball, they just couldn't punch it in the red zone, Matt. And I just, I don't know. At this point, I don't know what the answer is for the Black Cats to try to get something in the W column.
I totally agree, Jeff. I mean, when you're, in your last 4 games, when you're only scoring 20 points and you're giving up 125, I mean, I know there was a couple of members of the panel here that might have thought that, Herky might be able to go on the road and sneak this one out. And I still am just not seeing how that's going to happen with the parts and pieces that they need to, again, as you would say, Jeff, to finish it off. When you're at the 20 or inside the 20 and you don't have a kicking game to at least try to put 3 points up on the board, I mean, it's difficult. And, and when you're being held to about 100, either some games maybe 100 total yards of offense or 50 yards of offense, it's really tough to just identify and put a finger on exactly what the one thing is. And so, yeah, if you're Coach Boss over there, I mean, I'm not, not looking to walk a mile in his shoes right now, but it is really tough when you go to put the pads on and not be able to ring the bell at home. That, when there's no RTB, that's a tough day at Black Cat Nation.
Absolutely. And they need to be RTBing it a little bit there. And they've got a tough one here against Grandview. Grandview's still looking pretty doggone good, even though they took the loss to Perryville this week. But, you take a look at Wyatt Kime, and he's got a chance that he could run all over the Black Cats here. So,
yeah, I got a feeling, Ray and Jeff, that I saw that the other week after when Kime was Player of the Week last week. The game before that, he had kind of been held at bay, and then once he got loose and had his 25 tackles and his 250 yards rushing, what have you, and you look at this last game here, Grandview had a total offense of 31 yards, and Kime had 29 of those on the rushing side because they had 0 yards passing. Haven't seen this Perryville team up close and personal, and seeing Barrett Wheeler rolling out like his 167 yards. This dude's he's just big. He's just a bulldozer. And this was a game though, it was on my radar, and I was surprised they got shut out as well too. But again, seeing Perryville, I had thought on paper this was going to be a little bit closer, but Perryville they did a number on the Eagles. And so I would kind of put them in the same boat as Cuba, where just don't sleep on them because they're going to give people fits.
Well, I am very high on Perryville, and I think those numbers are reflected. I think they're the second best team in the quad conference behind St. Vincent right now. And we saw the way that they battled St. Vincent. St. Vincent escaped with a 1 or 2 point come from behind win in that game. But I will say this, in looking at things, Perryville is actually Class 4. They're ranked 6th right now. That's only 2 spots behind Festus in Class 4. Is that justified? I don't know. But I know that Perryville scares the heck out of me for my Blue Jays and some of the other teams.
it is now time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week, and it is none other than Eli Tebow from the DeSoto Dragons. Eli, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. How about you?
Awesome. So I got a message from Coach Schmidt. He said there is no question that Eli Tebow needs to be Player of the Week, which we agreed. Here's the defensive side: 9 tackles, 3 assists, 1 forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and 1 tackle for a loss. That's the defensive side. But you didn't stop there. You went on the offensive side: 15 carries, 241 yards, 3 touchdowns. You bought the team pizza. You did everything you could to be the man, the myth, the legend of DeSoto High School. So take us through the game. I just want to kind of, maybe get just kind of your thoughts on the game as a whole here.
I think it was our best game of the season. We played pretty hard, and we didn't give up when we were down, and we just dealt with adversity really well, as Coach Schmidt would say, and it was the outcome we wanted at the end. Excellent.
I know we've talked a little bit with Coach about, just the mindset this season and the buy-in, because that's exactly what it takes sometimes to, turn a team around. And we started seeing that, especially the first couple weeks here. And, what's the locker room been like this year with just kind of that sense of, some winning attitudes?
It's a lot more positive for sure. And there's a lot of picking each other up and not just like downing each other all the time. pushing each other at practice and making each other better every day and just working overall.
Excellent. Now you're you're junior this year, and you start thinking about college and things like that. You haven't been able to choose any place, been seen by anybody at all yet?
I've been quite a few camps within the past couple summers, but we don't really have anything like any colleges reaching out right now. But I'm hopefully within the end of this year and next year to have something figured out.
Great. You always got plenty of time now, but it's always good to plan ahead a little bit. Going into this week, it's week 6 for you guys, and my gosh, the season seems like it's just blowing by here. But you guys got Fredericktown this week, and they're kind of one of those shifty type teams. So, have you talked to Coach? Has Coach kind of briefed you guys on what Fredericktown is all about this week?
We had a good week of practices last week, and I feel that was a big impact on the game on Friday. And so I think we really just need to prepare really good this week and watch our film and get our plays down and everything. And I think we'll be pretty good this week.
Great. Final question for you. Going to give you a chance to give a shout out, player, a parent, a coach. Who you got a shout out for today?
I'm going to thank my coaches, most of all, my teammates for helping me, because that wasn't all me on Friday. That was my teammates as well. I wouldn't have been able to do it without my linemen or any of the wide receivers that scored touchdowns or Austin Meese. So I'd like to thank all my coaches and my teammates and my parents and my family.
Excellent. Good shout out there. Well, congratulations on being player of the week, and have a good week this week.
Well, thank you. You too.
It's our player of the week here, Eli Tebow from the DeSoto Dragons. It is now time for our honorable mention segment, and they are as follows. Eureka's Craig Ringe. He had 2 receptions, 84 yards, a touchdown, and 2 PATs. For Festus, Mason Shermer, I know that was kind of the unsung hero. He had both touchdowns in that game against Hillsboro, but he also had 10 tackles. Seckman's Brady Ambrose, 24 rushes, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then we've got that dynamic duo again from the Jefferson Blue Jays there, Cooper Frisk and Landon Weiss there. Cooper Frisk, 159 rushes, 112 passing for 3 touchdowns. Landon Weiss, 103 rushes, 33 receptions for 3 touchdowns, and a partridge in a pear tree down there as well. So, guys, a really, really great turnout for some players this week. I'll start with Matt.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, I mean, it would be easy because, Shermer had the 2 touchdowns against Festus, but again, it's another one of those things where had you been at the game or had seen the film of it, where with what he did on defense, he was the straw that stirred the drink on the defense. I mean, I know Pinkston seemed to be in the backfield the whole time too, but Shermer imposing his will up the middle gave Brown fits all day back there at the quarterback spot. And again, there's times where, again, on this show, this isn't about, some guy racking up, 500 yards rushing from a Class 6 school playing like a Class 2. That, when you put the eyes and you say, as they say, put the boots on the ground, the game that Mason Shermer had, I love seeing that up there. And then, again, Brady Ambrose doesn't go unnoticed. And having a kid like Craig Ringe up there at the top, that's how we tip the hat to these kids in the area. And then again, that 1-2 punch at the bottom down there for the Blue Jays, great job. And, and also, some of the guys, we had a decent list this week, even, Spratt out there at Northwest, a team taking a 1-point loss that, again, you look at a Northwest, you look at a DeSoto. These are 2 teams that at week 5 have twice as many wins as what they had last year. So There's got to be something to be said about that too, Jeff.
Oh, I agree 100%. I'm glad you brought up Spratt too. He was definitely on our radar this week for honorable mention or player of the week. Great effort there in that 1-point loss against Parkway South. It's interesting, and I can't emphasize this enough, and you heard me say it over and over like a broken record. The fact that Mason Shermer is playing football and playing at the high level that he is, and this young man doesn't have to play football. This young man has a commitment to go to college on a full ride scholarship to play baseball at a huge D1 school. He's risking injury. He's risking a lot of things in his life and possibly his future to play this game that he loves and to play it with his teammates and his brothers on the field. And not only is he playing, it's not like they're just throwing him out there. He's one of the best players they have and one of the biggest impact players they have. So I can't talk about that enough, and you'll hear me say it over and over again probably. The other thing, R7, I think we're starting to see like a Jordan Pippen situation here, guys. Where these two guys feed off of one another. It's as Matt likes to say, use this phrase, it's a two-headed monster. And you could stop one, but you may not be able to stop the other in Weiss and Frisk. So interesting. Those guys are just playing well together. Can't say enough about Landon Weiss for stepping up into the role that he has and doing so many different things for the Blue Jays, especially in Carson Hafner's absence. And, they hope to have Carson back by district time. It's hard to say how these injuries are going to heal up, but in the meantime, they're in good shape with Landon Weiss.
It is now time to take a look at the Week 6 schedule, and it is as follows. Grandview at Herculaneum, that'll be our live stream STL game of the week, along with the North County Festus game and the Summit Eureka game, so that'll be the 3 great games there. Hillsboro will be taking on Windsor. DeSoto is at Fredericktown. Perryville is at Jefferson. Bayless at St. Vincent. St. Pius X is at Cuba. Northwest is at Fox, and Seckman is at Pattonville. And we'll talk about our games of the week here. And let's start with Jeff.
Well, we're talking about your games of the week. To me, the marquee matchup obviously is Summit versus Eureka. Those two teams only have one loss on the season. Summit has another team that has one of the best offenses in the area. Their quarterback for Summit, one of the best, one of the leaders in the area, in Blaine Branscombe. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards. His touchdown to interception ratio is 10-2. So he's played well. You've not got another game just like last week for Eureka, where you've got a dominating defense versus a very high-powered offense. In my opinion, the defense is going to win every time. So, or most of the time, we'll say. So Eureka at home, I have to give them the edge in that game over Summit. Festus North County will present some challenges to Festus, and hopefully they won't have a letdown after last week's big game. They need to finish strong. They need to figure out a way and make sure that they can win this game and win in a pretty convincing fashion so they can keep accumulating those district points. Grandview at Herky, Herky's got to dig down. This is soul searching week because, this is a game that if they play well and play mistake free, they can hang with Grandview. But if it's going to be one of those things, Matt, and you've seen it before with teams where one thing happens, bad thing, it might be a mistake, it might be a penalty, and everybody's hanging their heads and they're thinking, "Oh, how are we going to lose this game this week?" They need to dig down and find that intestinal fortitude to work past that and to stay close in this game.
I think if Herculaneum is to have a shot in that game at all, if I'm Coach Boss, I'm getting with my defensive coordinators and I'm putting 5 guys on number 4 because I'm going to tell you right now, after only having 29 yards of rushing, Wyatt Kime is going to look to bust out in a big way. And Herky right now, who can't seem to get out of their own way at this point in time, that could be a rude awakening that they may not be prepared for if number 4 gets to bust loose. That could be a long day for Herky against Grandview. I'm looking at that Perryville Jefferson game, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, Jeff, but to me, again, this is another one that I think that would be my bold prediction for the week is to watch out for Perryville. I know they're going on the road to Jefferson, but haven't seen these guys firsthand. If you're getting into a spot where your secondary and your third dairy backs are having to make tackles, Wheeler is just going to be a machine, and that is going to be some tough sledding if they can't contain him and keep Lucky at bay throwing the ball around the field too.
Yeah, I mean, I even kind of go out on a limb here on this Bayless St. Vincent game. I mean, we've taken a look at Bayless here, and Vincent's been a pretty much a juggernaut. But you take a look at Bayless in how they handled Jefferson and made it close late. They could do the same thing to St. Vincent. So I mean, I hope St. Vincent doesn't overlook this Bayless game, because it could come back to bite them in the butt a little bit. But bold prediction time. You've already kind of given your bold prediction there, Matt. You got a bold prediction there, Jeffrey?
Well, I don't know if it's so much of a bold prediction to pick Eureka over Summit, so I'm going to pick a different game on that.
Okay.
I'm going to predict that the DeSoto Dragons make the
you
trip
took my game.
down to Fredericktown, and they beat the Black Cats on the road and keep that momentum going for DeSoto and for Coach Schmidt and Eli Tebow and all of those guys.
I give the same thing there as well. I really think that, DeSoto can give them a run, and you coming off of a big win that like you did over Windsor last week, you're taking a look at a lot of momentum, a lot of positive things. We've interviewed Eli Tebow, and, just the difference in the mantra of the DeSoto Dragons in a short amount of time that has been huge. And, that kind of goes back to the Russ Schmidt way of thinking. And he knew it was going to take, a year or two to kind of get his finger on some things. But now that he's got it on there, now you're starting to see some winning football for the DeSoto Dragons. Well, that
Jeff, and I
yeah,
agree to your point too about the Festus North County game, and I think it's going to be harder for Hillsboro if we want to talk about a hangover to recover from. Where Festus winning that game over Hillsboro, I think, is more of a momentum driver. Again, at the midway point to now you've had the foot on the gas, you had your metal tested, and you're battle ready now. Again, beating Windsor and DeSoto 120 to 20. Now you're on a roll. I think Hillsboro, you see the hangover. This is going to be interesting to see how Coach Freeman and the Owls respond to the butt kicking they got from the Dragons in their own place. So you're talking about two teams that are. I really want to see how this game shakes out. One, to see how Hillsboro responds, and also how Windsor responds as well too. That this could be a disaster as we talk about overlooking a team or an opponent. If you're looking to get back, the train back on the tracks, this could be a tough week for Hillsboro if they go to overlook Windsor.
Well, Matt, it should be really interesting. Plus you have the Lee Freeman factor playing against his old team with Hillsboro. You've got typical Lee Freeman football where he's not going to throw just one running back at you. He's going to throw two or three, and they're going to gain those two or three backs are going to gain close to 100 yards each. And it'll be interesting. Here again, I don't know that the Owls can stop Preston Brown in this situation, but if the game goes to a shootout, again, Windsor has a chance in this game. And you never want to sell a Lee Freeman team short. You never know what he's going to have up his sleeve.
There you have it. There you are. Well, that wraps up this week for Upon Further Review. Don't forget to check out our games this week on Friday night and our Friday Night Blitz post-game show at 10 o'clock. We appreciate that. For Ray Halbrook, for Matt Bates, for Jeff Whitener, all of us here at Upon Further Review, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly prohibited.